Hello again, Jim Glover, that branding guy for Once a Day Marketing. And today is Action Wednesday, and I'm going to try to give you a tip today to implement to improve your business. Now, we're going to be talking about PR and publicity. When was the last time you sent out a press release? Do you remember that? Was it a while ago? Have you ever sent out a press release? Well, I'm prompted today because in the New Mexican, the local paper here in Santa Fe, there's a little article about Once a Day Marketing. Now, that article is there because I took the time to send a press release to the newspaper, and it shows up in today's paper. So today's title is Using PR to Enhance Your Brand. So just what is publicity? Well, that's where you're attracting attention through public notice. And why does this work? Well, there's a little thing out there called content. We've talked about content. Newspapers need stories, news needs stories, radio needs stories, the internet needs stories. And so through your press release that you send out to these potential channels, you're telling them you have a story of interest. And since they're looking for stories, there's a chance they will pick yours up. And that's really the whole premise around publicity. Now, what you're trying to do is to create a slightly different promotion for your business rather than a paid ad or something else that you do in the traditional mode. When people see a story and it's there by some other writer, it kind of gives credibility to you and your company and your brands and so forth, different than an ad. I think they end up having more credibility in you and your product than they would by just seeing the ad that they know that you paid for and put in there. There's just that subtlety with respect to this other kind of publicity that's created. And the thing that really drives all of this is the press release. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So what makes a successful press release? Well, it's the press release itself and who you're sending it to. So with respect to the press release, the content has to be interesting. It has to be timely. It has to be relevant. And like all things we've talked about here at Once a Day Marketing, it needs to really be focused on the audience of the publication or the radio station or the television station that you're sending your press release to. So it's important to understand who the audience is. You also need to make sure that the who, what, when, where, why, how, contact information, all that sort of stuff is inside your press release. So when the editor, the publisher gets it, he can get back to you with questions and comments and so forth. And then you want to make sure that you target the right people. With my story that was covered in the New Mexican that I talked about earlier, I sent it to the editor of the New Mexican who covers business. That was a good fit. Local businesses, I'm a guy helping local businesses, so that made sense, and I got my story in the paper. What you also want to do to be successful is that you want to develop relationships and understand these publications and these outlets. You know, you might meet them at a networking meeting we've talked about. You might call them up and say hello, ask them what they're looking for and so forth. But you want to create that relationship. And then there's follow-up. You just can't send out this information and just hope it happens. You need to say, oh, were you interested in my story? And another thing, if they in fact cover your story, be sure to thank them, because what's going to happen? They're going to be more likely to cover your next story the next time. Your assignment for today on Action Wednesday is to develop your latest press release. If you've never done it, it'll be a good exercise. If you haven't done it in a while, it'll still be a good exercise. So figure out what your story angle is, develop your list, and then send it out. And today, fortunately, there's lots of ways to do that. I was able to email my press release just to the business editor at the New Mexican, but you might use some other means like PR Newswire or PR Web. These are online services that will scatter your press release across the globe if you like. It's all based on who you're trying to reach, how much money you have, etc. So I hope that you do that and that you get some nice responses from that. That's our Action Wednesday. Be sure to stop by tomorrow for Recon Thursday if you can, and hoping that somewhere in the near term you too get a little coverage in some sort of publication, some sort of news story that develops earned media for your company and drives a little bit more traffic. I'm Jim Glover, that branding guy for Once a Day Marketing, and we'll see you next time.